Hi, it's Tamby again. This is, I believe, part 5 of my series of my childhood story. And the last videos that I had recently done were about my foster care experience of being in foster care. And I thought to let you know, about the rest of my experience. This is part 5. I do want to warn you though that these videos are very sensitive. I do put trigger warnings on this series because it was very traumatic for me, but I do not want to cause anyone harm or distress by my videos. So because other people might have gone through the same thing as me or very traumatic stuff, and I don't want this to like reawaken things for them or hurt them in any way. So if you decide to watch this video, it is at your own risk. I really hope that these videos help anyone who is watching them, and to understand that you're not alone, that people who have gone through the same thing as me or just traumatic experience in general, just know that you are not alone. You have people who have gone through the same thing, and if you need to message me, go ahead. And my social medias are Tamby, Tambi. My last name, Masom, Masom, and I would be willing to talk to you and help you get through some of your traumatic experiences. I am a spiritual coach, and I do help people out on my website. So if you want some spiritual guidance to help you through the traumatic experiences, or just to help you to have a better life and grow, my website is called Empress Space, and it's on Wix. Yes, so let's get started. So where I left off on part 4 was I was at Galen and a group home named Galen, and they were going to transfer me to a group home in Missoula called Ernest Home. And at first it was good. The PM2, which is house manager, was someone that I've known for a while. And his name is Gabe. And he has known me since I was 9 years old. Gabe was also the PM2 house manager in Great Falls, but he moved to Missoula for the PM2 job at Ernest Group Home in Missoula. So he was the PM2 there. So we've known each other for a while. He's known me since I was 9. At Rosemary Gallagher Children's Home, because he worked at another house that's almost like Rosemary Gallagher. And we got along sometimes, but there were times where we really did not get along and we butt heads because of our past together. So basically, I was at Ernest's house, and I knew the PM2 for a while. And sorry, I got a message. And it went well in the beginning, as of most of the places I've stayed at. But sorry if I say a lot, because my brain is just working really hard, and I actually see and like envision the stuff that happens. So when it pops up into my head like a movie, I just blurt it out and explain what's happening. So basically, as I said, it went well in the beginning at first. And then, like, it does in all the places I've been to, all the group homes. Like, they don't let you express yourself. They don't let you tell them how you feel. If you're upset, it's a bad thing. Like, you cannot have feelings in a group home. And it was off and on a good experience and a bad one being there. And Ernest was also owned by Aware Inc., which is a company that owns a lot of the mental health facilities and group homes in Montana. And I don't know if it's a global thing. I just know it's a Montana thing. So basically, I had earned my way up for extra privileges because I was working really hard. And I was in this like drama, acting, singing class for summer that I really enjoyed. And I think in like a week during this time, like a week prior, I was gonna have I'm famous. I was gonna have a show. And so I was practicing really hard for my show, like really hard. And I had a CD that my teacher had given me to practice the moves and the words and stuff like that. And this girl that I was living with, she was 10. That girl is a psycho, and I really mean psycho. And she was the favorite of the house, obviously, because she was the youngest in the house. I was like 14, 15 years old, and she was 10. She walked up to me and she asked me, "Hey, can I pick a song?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, when I'm done." She's like, "No, right now. I want to have a song right now." I was like, "But I have to practice for a show." And she got angry with me. First, I didn't know what she was doing. But she went to the staff, and staff is basically the adults in the house that watch the kids and the underage people that live in the house. So she told the staff that I had hit her. I did not hit her. I was not even thinking about hitting her. All I told her is no, not right now. After I'm done practicing for my show, you can pick a song. But because she didn't get her way, she went and told the staff I hit her. So 2 of the staff came at me. And normally when this happens anyways, because I was on a load of medication and I can control my outbursts, when staff come at me sideways like that, and they were screaming in my face, "How dare you? How dare you hit a younger kid? She's only 10. How dare you?" And they're like screaming at me. So because of my past and because I've dealt with a lot of traumatic stuff, I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, "No, I didn't hit her." And I was like trying to explain myself, but they were not listening to me. So, the 10-year-old girl ended up like doing the shoulder bump thing when she walked past me to walk into the kitchen when I was in the living room with the staff. But she like shoulder bumped me and then fell and hit the floor and started the fake tears. And was like, oh my God, she hit me. And I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, it just hit the fan so fast. And I was like, "No, I didn't hit her. She shoulder bumped me. I don't know what's happening." And she's like crying on the floor, dramatic. And I did not hit her. She shoulder bumped me. And the staff was like, "I saw you hit her. I saw you hit her." And I'm like, "I did not hit her. She shoulder bumped me." They didn't believe me, so they started laying hands on me, trying to get me to the floor. And I'm the type of person, like, I do not want to hit that floor. Like, I have anxiety about hitting the floor because I'm afraid that I'm going to get hurt. And when the staff at any group home I've ever been at, when they try to restrain, they don't give a care how hard they hit that floor. Sometimes on purpose. They purposely throw you on the floor as hard as they can and shake you up. So I was afraid, so I didn't want to hit the floor, so I started to like try to keep myself up, and I had like 2-3 staff trying to pull me to the ground. And I know this sounds crazy or like I'm a lunatic, but I didn't understand. Like, I was on so much medications that I wasn't realizing that like, I don't know what I could have done even in that situation, even me not being on medication right now. Like, I don't even know what I could have done in that situation because I was innocent. I didn't do anything. And because I just got really overwhelmed, and I felt like I had to protect myself. I got loose out of the restraint, and I ran down the stairs, and I felt like I had to get a weapon to protect myself. Like, my goal was not to hurt anybody, but my goal was to protect myself. And I didn't want to get hurt. And they were under the impression I just hurt a child. And I don't know, like, they were watching me the whole time. I don't know how they saw that as me hitting her. But I guess because they saw how dramatic she was being with the tears, that I really hurt her in some way. But this girl's nuts. Like, anytime the staff weren't looking directly at her, she was like, this is so funny, you're in trouble. And I was just like, getting even more riled up. I was like, why is she doing this to me? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. So I had gotten out of the restraint, and I had ran down the stairs, obviously to protect myself. I went down to the basement. And at the top of the stairs, the 10-year-old is up at the top of the stairs screaming at me. Was like, your mom and daddy hates you. And like, the staff weren't even trying to get her to stop at all. And I was getting really riled up. And I was like, you know what? You don't know my parents. Like, just shut up and leave me alone. And the staff heard me say that and was like, how dare you? How dare you yell at a child? How dare you? I was on so much medications. Like, I mean, I wasn't hurting her. And I wasn't even close to her. I wasn't even in her face. I was at the bottom of the staircase. But, like, my brain at that time, like, wasn't registering that, like, I shouldn't be yelling at a young child. Like, I was just so upset, and, like, I was so overwhelmed that I was being accused of hitting a child several times. And I had her on the top of the stairs and basically screaming at me and saying horrible things about my parents. And my family is a very sensitive topic, especially when I was very young and on a bunch of medications I shouldn't have been on. And it didn't help that the staff was also at the top of the stairs screaming at me at the same time. I had everything going on and I was very overwhelmed. But the PM2, Gabe, that I knew since I was 9, he was like, you need to calm down, you need to calm down. And I guess the other staff didn't realize what was happening downstairs because only he was downstairs. The other ones were up at the top. And I don't know why the health department didn't do anything about this, but there was this, like, you know, at companies or like office buildings, there's these lights, these long light bulbs. Well, in the basement, they had one, but it was like the wire was hanging down and it was directly like dangling. Like, it could have hurt someone, especially if it fell. And because it was right next to my head, my first impression, and I'm laughing because I feel like a crazy lunatic, but I didn't have control over anything I was doing. Because it was right next to my face, my first instinct, because he was coming after me, my first instinct was to grab it. Like, this whole time, I didn't really have control over any of my actions. I just knew what I was doing. It was like I was trapped in my own body. And I see it, and it's like the first thing, just like if you're about to get attacked, the nearest thing that's next to you, you're probably going to use it as a weapon. That was my thought. I immediately grabbed it and was going to use it to defend myself. And, God, I sound like a nutso. And he went to come at me. And I swung before I could even think about stopping myself. And I hit him with it and shattered the glass. I mean, he wasn't hurting or anything. It's just, I was just trying to stop him from coming after me. And so the staff upstairs heard the crash and ran down the stairs, and they were getting ready to restrain me. I'm laughing even though it's the wrong time. I'm just nervous. I laugh when I'm nervous. It's not me being psychotic. We were right next to this like water heater thing. I'm not even sure if it was a water heater. Like, I have no idea what it was. And it had these things that looked like wires on them. Well, because I was so determined not to hit the ground because I was afraid of falling, and I knew that they would be rough on the way down, I grabbed the first thing that was in my view. And that was something that I thought was a wire. And they didn't even believe me that I didn't know what it was when I grabbed it. They thought that I was lying. But to this day, like, I've stuck to my story. I literally do not even know what that was when I was pulling on it to keep me from going to the ground. I thought it was a wire, but it was actually a tube. The minute we were about to go down, it burst. And the stuff that looked like air was coming out of it. The staff was like, oh no, we have to evacuate because that was a gas line. I had no idea I just burst the gas line, which means that there was a very high possibility that the house could blow up and blow up any houses next to it. I thought they were pulling my leg because I didn't even know what a gas line was. I thought that they had made it up and was just trying to control me. And so they tried to drag me up the stairs. Sorry, I got a hair in my mouth. I know that's disgusting. And they tried to drag me up the stairs. I'm like, no, you're lying to me. Like, no, that's not true. So they're like, fine, whatever. And so they just abandoned me down in the basement. I'm laying there on the floor, and I'm just like, oh my God. Because it was like a second, and all I could hear was from the gas line, and I had no idea that it was the gas line until they told me, but I thought that they were lying. So, and then I hear a fire truck. I'm like, oh no. So I run up the stairs and I go into my bedroom. I don't know why my first thought was this, but I packed a couple clothes and pictures of my family and a stuffed animal I've had since I was born and a baby blanket, and I took off. But the minute I got to the doorway of the front door, I was grabbed by a police officer. And they grabbed my bag from me, and God, I'm such an idiot. And when I realized how serious the situation was, I was just like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I did that. And I started to cry. I was like, why did it have to get that big? Like, I didn't do anything wrong until I started, like, trying to defend myself. Because I'm so used to being manhandled, and I didn't want to be manhandled or get taken to the ground really hard. So I tried to defend myself in the wrong situation. Again. But one of the therapists from the old house, or one of the other houses that is also from Aware Inc., She is the therapist over there, but she used to be my old CPS worker when I was 9 years old, when I first came into Montana. And the judge that was my judge during that time as well, he was my judge throughout my whole childhood, and he's also my judge with all my court stuff and my children today. Like, still, that's like a conflict of interest. He's like so biased, it's insane, but that's for another video. And basically what happened was the therapist that has known me since I was 9, because she used to be my CPS worker, she used to work for Child and Family Services, and she's like, Tambi, I'm tired of your crap. She's like, I'm allowing them to arrest you. So they took me to juvie, and the whole time I thought I was being punked. I thought they were messing with me. I thought that they were gonna like fake arrest me, put me in a cell for like an hour, and then like release me and be like, ha ha ha, you're gonna learn. Like, I really thought that I was being punked. And to be honest, jail was 10 times better than any of the group homes I had been in. And that's saying something. And I had a different type of freedom in jail than I did in any of the group homes. Like, I could watch any show that I wanted. It didn't matter if it was rated R. Like, I was watching Bad Girls Club, which basically is a bunch of girls fighting each other and doing drugs and like running across the house naked and partying and going clubbing and having sex. And I was watching that like 14, 15 years old. And the guards never told me I couldn't watch it. They were just surprised. They're like, oh, really? You're so young to be watching that, but whatever. Like, I had so much freedom. And I could read, sleep, do whatever I wanted. As long as I took care of myself, like shower and eat and take my meds. But basically, I was in juvie for a month. The food was nasty. The only food that even tasted normal was like the milk and the nachos. And one of the lady from Catholic Lutheran Services in Helena, even though I was in Missoula jail, the juvenile hall, she was angry because they had me in there through Thanksgiving. They had me in there for 30 freaking days in jail for something I didn't even do. I even was put on probation. I had a probation officer and I didn't even know it. I don't even remember ever meeting with my probation officer. And I had a probation officer for 2 years that I was on probation. And I had no idea. I know I went to court once, and like that was so embarrassing. Like, while I was in the jail, they transported me with handcuffs, and I don't know why they thought that I was so dangerous that I needed handcuffs, a belly chain, and ankle cuffs that were all tied together. I wasn't even gonna run. Like, they knew that wasn't even on my mind because I was just so nervous about everything. It was the very wrongest place to put me was juvie, but I got a lot of freedom. And the reason why I'm tearing up right now is because I just remember how it felt to walk out into the courtroom and they were treating me like I was dangerous, like I was some mass serial killer, and that I had hurt a child even though I didn't, and no one believed me. And they were so against me. Like, I was 14, 15 years old, and they treated me like trash. And the cuffs and the ankle cuffs were so tight that they were rubbing up against my ankles and my wrists to the point where they were leaving marks on me. And just hearing them scream at me in the courtroom like I was some horrible human being. I was in orange and I was just in front for everyone to see. And there was someone that showed up into the courtroom that was from one of the group homes for young children. And she was like, hey, we're willing to take Tambi to get her out of juvie. And they were like really trying to support me. And the prosecutor was like, why would you do that? She like just hurt a child. Like, why would you do that? And I was innocent. And the house was like, oh yeah, you're right. The house that was going to take me in was like, yeah, you're right. Okay. And they put me back in jail and gave me hard sandwiches. The lunch meat was crunchy. The lunch meat should have not been crunchy. And sorry, I have to recuperate. But basically, it was just a really horrible experience. Even though I didn't hurt anybody. Well, technically I did, but I didn't hurt that kid at all. I did not hit her. I did not hurt her. The only person I hurt was the person that the PM2 that was coming at me. And I felt like I had to defend myself. And I also didn't really have much control anyways, because instincts were just trying to kick in for me. And I was on so much medication, I could barely function. I acted like someone who is severely autistic on medication. Like, I wouldn't even be able to have this conversation with you if I was on those meds today. Like, I said some really horrible stuff when I was 18 to my mom that I would never, ever, ever say to my mom. Like, an hour after I said it to her, I was like, did I just say that to my own mom? I told my mom I wanted her dead. That, like, she needed to die and I wouldn't care. And, like, that's so crazy because I love my mom. Like, yeah, she's a pain in my ass. But, like, I don't want her dead. Like, that's insane. Why would I say that? And after a couple weeks after being off the medication, like, the fog, even just a tad, lightly lifted off of me and I felt like a new person. So many years of me being so heavily medicated that I didn't even know myself. And when I got off the medication, it was like a huge relief. I had to learn things all over again. And I had better control over my actions. I didn't say horrible things or do horrible things. Like, I was able to control my actions and act like a human being. So basically, after that court hearing when I was younger, they released me, and I think they put me back in Shoulder. I went to Shoulder at least 6 to 7 times. It was a lot. throughout my whole childhood, but I went there for probably a couple weeks, maybe even a month. It was the same as it always had been. And then they put me on a plane. I don't remember the plane ride very much. They put me on a plane to Salt Lake City, Utah. And this place that they were sending me to was not where I should have been. Like, the facility that they put me in, which was in Salt Lake City, Utah, it was called Copper Hills. And it was a lockdown facility for teenagers. It was almost like a kiddie prison. Like for kids that have severe, like they were like robbing banks and murdering people and molesting people or family members. Like there was even a unit for boys that like, and I know this is like really intense, but like they hurt their siblings or they sexually assaulted someone. Like the ages were like from like 12 to 18. And I was on Diamond Unit. I don't know what names they have for them, but the one that I was at was called Diamond. And they have level systems there. Refocus is kind of like you're grounded. But there was almost like show dare. They would lock me in the QR for hours. The whole shebang. I was targeted by the girls that I lived with just because I was easy and I didn't know how to fight back, really. And it made them look tough because I had so much anxiety that I couldn't even throw a punch. I couldn't even defend myself. I would just panic the whole time, and then after they were done beating the crap out of me for no reason, I would then have a meltdown because I was so overwhelmed and I had just got beat. I remember one time I was on the top bunk, and I don't like being on the top bunk, and this is probably one of the reasons. But I was on the top bunk, and technically the staff are not allowed in the rooms. Even if it's female staff, like they're just not allowed in the rooms. But they always broke it when it came to me because I did not want to get up because I was being bullied and beat for no reason because I was easy target. And I remember I was in a dead sleep and I freaking wake up to two girls on the bunk bed. Like they had climbed up through the bottom bunk and they were holding on to the edge and they were looking directly at me and they're like, wake up, and they're like screaming at me and shaking me and punching me and like grabbing my hair, and they put this stuff in my hair and was like rubbing it throughout my hair and like punching me in the face. Like that is one reason why I don't like being messed like that while I'm sleeping. I mean obviously, but like if someone tries to like shake me or like mess with me while I'm sleeping in a certain way, like it will make me get overwhelmed and really upset because of this stuff. Like one girl, even the reason why the girls there aren't allowed to have gum is because the girls there are mean. They will, if they think someone snitched, like tattletaled or told on them for doing something really bad, even if that person's innocent, like if they believe that that person had tattled or, in their words, snitch, they would jump people, hurt them really bad, ruin their stuff. They would get a hold of scissors from the staff, like even the higher ups would be able to get like scissors for like art projects, and they would sneak them around and like cut people's hair when they're not paying attention. Like they're mean. Like they used to allow Nair there, but because they had put Nair on a girl's head because they thought she snitched, on them for doing drugs in the bathroom. They beat her up and put nair in her hair, and she lost all of her hair and became bald. Like, they're mean. And I was getting beat up every day. I was getting targeted. My stuff was getting ruined. Photos of my family were getting ruined. I was like so depressed there. And I was crying and begging to be released. Like, I was like, please let me go. And like, one of the staff was, before she quit, she was like, this is not the place for you. You should not be here. These are for out of control teenagers who are not old enough to go to the adult prison. And you were just not that. And I did have outbursts. I will admit to that, because there were things that made me freak out, like being beat and attacked for no reason. They would have riots there that were so large, like the whole unit would be messed up. Things would be strung out in the hallway. I watched a group of kids break the dresser and like start attacking other inmates there with them, and like urinating and pooping in people's laundry baskets and attacking people. And like, I was on the sidelines, but one of the girls that's kind of like me but worse, she tried to get in on it too, and she tried to punch someone, and someone punched her in the face, and she started to cry. Like, this girl should not have been there either. And I didn't join because I'm not like that. Like, I don't want to fight people. Like, I don't even fight people when they try to hurt me. I think the only time I stepped up to fight was when I found out that this girl that was my roommate, she really loves Star Wars. We found out that she was 3 months pregnant. She had moved, she had gotten pregnant before she had moved in with us at Copper Hills, and they didn't know that she was pregnant for like 3 months until they're like, oh yeah, you're pregnant. Well, someone did. There's always these things, like, so many people there say they have kids, or they or they're pregnant or whatever, and like there's this group of girls that target people for saying that. Even if it's true, false, real, fake, they don't care. They will go and ask the nurse. And obviously the nurse has to lie because it's none of their damn business. So the nurse would be like, oh, no, that's not happening. Like, she doesn't have a kid. Like, because she thinks that she's protecting these people by not telling them their business, or the girl's business. But really, that is just putting that girl in danger by the nurse saying that. They become the #1 hit target. And so the girl that likes Star Wars, the one that was 3 months pregnant, she became a target because she was telling everyone that she was 3 months pregnant. And she was, but because the nurse had to be like, no, she's not pregnant, because of confidentiality, and she thinks she's protecting this person, she became a target. So what happened was I saw a group of girls, it was at least 3 of them, got in front of this girl and went to raise a fist. And because I'm very protective over children and pregnant women, I jumped in the middle of it and I puffed up. I was like, and normally I'm not like that. I don't like fighting, but there's only a couple things that will make me like really fist fight. And I have anxiety about that stuff, like when it's not even that. But I was really ready to take on 3 different girls because I didn't want that baby getting hurt. I didn't want her getting hurt either, but like, I'm very protective over children. And I got in front and I was like, you are not touching her. Like, she's pregnant. Like, stop. And she's like, oh, Rios, the nurse, and, the nurse said this, the nurse said, I said, because it's none of your business. And because they know that I'm not a fighter. And like when I went to puff up, they knew that I was serious. And so they backed off. For once, like I could have gotten really beat to a bloody pulp. And I just like risked it all, but they all took me serious and backed off. And then the girl that was pregnant, she started screaming and was like, oh my God, like she almost hit me, like I'm pregnant, oh my God. And so I had to calm her down. There's a time where I got beat up by this girl because there was this girl named Amber that was the shit. Like, oh, they're in every facility or every Mean Girls show. There's a mean girl that thinks she's the shit, and she has all her little freaking goons ready. This girl, there's this fashion there that her and her goons would pull up her tank top to show her belly off. I'm not going to show my belly, but she would lift up her tank top. And sometimes she would wear two so she could lift up her tank top and pull it over her boobs so it looks like she has bigger boobs. But this girl named Amber was nuts. And like one of the boys' units there was the sex offender unit for like the young kids sex offender unit and teenagers in there. And she had this boyfriend, because I don't really consider unit dating like boyfriend and girlfriend. We're locked up, dude. We can't even do anything. Like, we can pass secret notes, but if we get caught, we in trouble and we get locked up. So I don't count that as dating. And she heard a little rumor, and she knows how I feel about the sex offender unit. Like, I hate it. I would never. And she was like, oh, well, I heard that you were sending love notes to my boyfriend. I was like, is he on the sex offender unit? Oh, yeah. I was like, girl, you know what I think about the sex offender unit? Like, no, I would never do that. And I said, one, I would never do that to you. But two, I hate the sex offender unit. And she's like, okay, I believe you. So she walks away. And as she's walking away, I said, I swear to God, Amber, I did not do that. I promise, you gotta believe me. And before Amber could say anything, one of her goons was like, what did you say? You talk him back? Sorry, I'm a little sassy because this irritates me to my core. And I was like, no, like I just trying to help her understand that I would never do that. She's like, you're talking back, and starts to size me up. I'm like, dude, we don't need to do this. Like, I'm not doing nothing wrong. And she's like, oh, well, now you're talking back to me. And then starts wailing on me, and I cover my head and cover my neck. Reasons like this, all the head beatings that I got throughout the childhood, mostly other people that I live with, caused me a lot of brain damage. And like, it doesn't take very much just for me to get a concussion. Like several months ago, maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, I got a concussion by someone throwing toilet paper at my head. I'm not talking about like one roll. I'm talking about a whole type pack, compacted, just, and knocked me a new one. I wasn't knocked out, but it definitely gave me a really bad concussion for like weeks. I was like shaking and I was so weak I couldn't even open dinner or anything. It took a lot of effort. Sometimes I'd have to stop and take a break and then come back and try to reopen it because I was so weak. And my head was pounding all the time and I was so nauseous. But back to the story. But yeah, it's really easy for me to get a concussion now because of all the beatings I got for no reason. And Even Amber was like, whoa, whoa, dude, stop, and had to run into the other room. And I could hear her as I was getting beat. They're like, Tammy's getting her ass beat. Sorry for my language, but it's true. And the staff came running and pulled her off of me, and I had a meltdown. I was so mad and defenseless and overwhelmed that I just had a blowout. I was so mad. And when I have blowouts like that, I do some weird stuff. Like I threw my shoe at the fire alarm and made it go off, so all the doors popped open. That's how people run away. And I think actually a couple people took advantage of that and took a run for it. So I was on refocus again, and I was in a lot of trouble. I had already gotten in a lot of trouble regardless. I was also mad not just because I was defenseless and was getting beat. I was in trouble before I reacted. I was put on refocus because I was in the fight, even though I didn't do anything. I allowed that person to beat the crap out of me. I still got in trouble because it was considered a fight. I don't think it's really a fight because it wasn't even fair. I wasn't even fighting back. And I got rolled up and got in trouble. So finally, after living there for almost a year, finally someone hears me. But they sent me back to Galen, and the abuse and neglect got worse. And then I was promised by my therapist that used to be a house manager at one of the group homes at Galen, because I think there's like 7 group homes in Galen, that if I behaved myself by the time I was 16, I could get into he would try his hardest to get me into a foster home. So I tried really, really hard to control myself. It was so hard. Regardless, they tried to tempt me the whole freaking time too. They tried to get me to freak out, get mad so I could sabotage my stuff. But I even would plug my ears when they would mock me, and I would just take deep breaths. Sometimes I would start crying because it was just so hard to control myself. All I wanted was a family. I just wanted to be loved, and I wanted a family, and I wanted to get out of the abusive situation that I was in. And it's pretty sad because even when I was really young, I wanted to die. I just wanted to fall asleep and never wake up because of the way that I was treated. And no person should ever feel like that, especially a child. Child should never feel that way. And I'm so sorry for any child that felt that way or is feeling that way right now. I don't wish that on anybody in my life. Sorry. And so yeah, back on topic. So basically, I worked really hard to behave myself. I dug in my heels. I was doing everything I was supposed to. And the day before I turned 16, my therapist had pulled me in the office. I thought he was lying to me. I thought he had pulled my leg. Sorry. And he was like, oh yeah, John and Sherry, the ones that you've been meeting, they're going to take you home tomorrow. And I thought he was lying to me, so I started laughing. He's like, no, it's the truth. So when I went to sit down at the table with the other girls, and I was smiling from ear to ear, they're like, what happened? And I told them that I got into a foster home and they're taking me home. And I just started bawling. I was so happy because all I wanted was a home. and for someone to love me, and I wanted to get out of the bad situation that I was in. Like, I would try so hard to get someone to listen to me, but no one cared. I was even calling 911. I was running away. I was trying everything. I would even fake illnesses to get to the hospital. And when I would get to the hospital, I would tell the doctor about all the stuff that's been happening to me, and he didn't care. But finally, when I was 16, I woke up early because I couldn't even sleep. And they took me home. It was like the best thing in the world. I love them. And if it wasn't for them, my life probably wouldn't be happening right now. I would probably be locked up because I wouldn't be able to take care of myself. Because I was so secluded at the group homes, and I was not allowed to do anything by myself. They didn't teach me anything. I had to learn everything by myself. Like, I had to teach myself about periods. I had to do all this on my own with no access to the internet. Yeah. And if you want to know more about that story, about that area, just go back to the other videos if you haven't watched it. So, okay. So I'm at my new foster family. I'm 16. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. And that's where I'm going to stop the video here. I'm really sorry that it was a long video today. I got a little carried away and I didn't know where to stop. So I will get on a different video, and I hope you guys are safe and healthy. All right. I'll see you next time for the next video. Bye.